On July 13th, 1977, New York City died. The power grid collapsed. 8 million people were thrown into darkness at the same moment. Subways stopped inside tunnels. Elevators froze between floors. Air conditioners shut off in 95-degree heat. The skyline disappeared, and within minutes, the city began to burn. By sunrise, more than 1,600 stores were looted, over 1,000 fires were set, nearly 4,000 people were arrested. This was not just a blackout, it was a systemic failure, and it did not have to happen. 3 days earlier, Con Edison chairman Charles Luke testified before Congress. He assured lawmakers that the catastrophic blackout of 1965 could never happen again. The system had been upgraded, reinforced, modernized. It was secure. What makes that assurance more unsettling is what New York had already experienced. In 1965, a cascading grid failure plunged much of the Northeast into darkness. It exposed how fragile interconnected power systems could be. Afterward, utilities promised redundancy, safeguards, reform. The public was told the lesson had been learned, but by the mid 1970s, New York City was in financial crisis. Maintenance budgets were cut, upgrades were delayed, critical inspections were postponed. Infrastructure does not collapse overnight, it erodes quietly, wire by wire, inspection by inspection, deferred decision by deferred decision. By the summer of 1977, the grid was improved from 1965, but it was not invulnerable. Confidence had outpaced reality, and on July 13th, 1977, that gap was exposed. At 8:34 p.m., lightning struck a 345,000-volt transmission line at the Buchanan South substation. The strike itself was routine, but two critical circuit breakers tripped, and a small mechanical defect, a loose locking nut, prevented them from automatically reconnecting. Power flow was interrupted, the system destabilized, and no one outside the control room knew what had just begun. 3 minutes later, another lightning strike disconnected the nuclear plant at Indian Point Energy Center. To protect its core from frequency instability, the plant shut down. New York instantly lost massive generating capacity. Inside Con Edison's control room, alarms activated. Operators attempted to assess the damage, but the display system was fragmented and poorly designed. Critical information was scattered across panels. They could not clearly see which circuits remained open, and the system was degrading faster than they could interpret it. At 8:45 p.m., operators attempted to remote start backup generators. The attempt failed. The equipment had not been properly maintained. Budget constraints had delayed critical upgrades. As frequency drifted lower, something dangerous began happening inside generators across the city. Large turbines are engineered to spin at precisely 60 cycles per second. When frequency drops, mechanical stress increases. If instability continues, rotors can warp, blades can shear, metal can tear itself apart. Protective relays are designed to shut systems down before that damage occurs. That protection preserves equipment, but it accelerates collapse. Each automatic shutdown removes another pillar supporting the grid, and power grids are not linear systems. They are interconnected webs. When one node fails, stress redistributes instantly. If reserve margins are thin, if redundancy is insufficient, failure spreads exponentially. By 9:08 p.m., operators initiated brownouts, minor reductions, 5%, 8%. It was not enough. They were instructed to shed larger sections of load, to deliberately black out parts of the city to save the whole. They hesitated. Each minute narrowed the margin for survival, and by 9:20 p.m., they were no longer preventing disaster. They were chasing it. Every correction came seconds too late. The system was not stabilizing. It was unraveling. At 9:29 p.m., the final major interconnection to the regional grid tripped offline. New York became electrically isolated, an island. The city was consuming more electricity than it was generating. Frequency swung violently. Protective relays detected instability. At 9:36 p.m., the largest generating unit in the city, Ravenswood Unit 3, shut down automatically to prevent catastrophic turbine damage. The remaining system collapsed. Total darkness. 4,000 people were trapped underground in subway tunnels. Thousands more were stuck in elevators. Traffic signals failed across boroughs. Hospitals switched to emergency generators and began calculating fuel reserves. Police radios strained under overload. Inside subway cars, passengers sat in darkness as air grew hotter by the minute. Emergency lighting flickered. Some forced doors open and walked along tracks towards stations they could not see. Office workers pried elevator doors apart with their hands. The city did not know whether the outage would last minutes or days, and uncertainty fuels fear. In the absence of information, rumor spreads faster than fire. Then the first windows shattered. To understand what followed, you would have to understand New York in 1977. The city was financially broken, on the edge of bankruptcy. The public services had been cut deeply, police staffing reduced, firehouses closed, infrastructure neglected. Weeks earlier, the Son of Sam murders had terrorized residents. Fear already existed. Many neighborhoods felt abandoned. Entire blocks and part of the Bronx and Brooklyn were scarred by arson and neglect. Insurance payouts often exceeded property values. Some landlords discovered destruction paid better than renovation. Fire response times had lengthened after station closures. The trust in institutions was eroding. When the lights went out, the perception was not simply that power had failed, it was that the system had failed. And where belief in the system collapses, restraint collapses with it. Looting began within minutes. It spread rapidly. 31 neighborhoods descended into unrest. By sunrise, 1,616 stores looted, 1,037 fires set, nearly 4,000 arrests. Bushwick became one of the epicenters. On a single stretch of Broadway, more than 100 businesses were stripped or burned. Fire companies moved from blaze to blaze. They just could not keep up. At times, crews had to choose which buildings to save and which to abandon. Flames reflected off darkened windows. Smoke drifted across boroughs, already suffocating in summer heat. Store owners stood outside shattered storefronts, watching their livelihoods disappear. Arrests mounted, jails overflowed. By morning, entire commercial corridors resembled disaster zones. The destruction was not evenly distributed. It concentrated in neighborhoods already weakened by years of economic decline. The blackout did not create inequality, it exposed it under firelight. Some areas never fully recovered. Investigations later revealed deeper failures. Maintenance worth tens of millions of dollars had been deferred. Operators had not been given adequate diagnostic tools. System redundancy was weaker than assumed. In court, the utility was found grossly negligent. The ruling stripped it of certain legal protections. Damage claims followed. Regulatory reforms were introduced, but institutional change came after irreversible loss. The myth of invulnerability was gone. Today, the stakes are higher than they were in 1977. Then, electricity powered daily life. Now, it powers survival systems. Financial markets operate digitally and globally. Hospitals rely on network diagnostics. Water treatment facilities are automated. Telecommunications are centralized. A prolonged blackout today would not simply halt movement, it would disrupt supply chains, healthcare access, financial liquidity, and public order simultaneously. Cyber threats now target grid infrastructure directly. Climate volatility increases transmission strain. Heat waves grow longer. Storms grow stronger. Interconnectivity improves efficiency, but it also amplifies systemic risk. Complex systems fail at their weakest point, and weak points are often invisible until they're not. The 1977 blackout was not only lightning, it was complacency, deferred maintenance, design failure, institutional hesitation. It revealed how quickly stability can dissolve. When the lights go out, systems fail first, then trust, then order. Civilization depends on preparation, and preparation depends on humility. In 1977, the city learned that lesson in the dark. The question is whether we learn it differently today. This was just one of many tales from the Big Apple. Every week, I break down the moments that shaped this city, the collapses, the turning points, the hidden histories. If that's your kind of thing, subscribe, turn on notifications, and if this episode delivered value, leave a like. There's a lot more to uncover, so stick around and thank you for watching.